Okay, so here I've got a box that's set up like a table. And here I've got a window set up in a room with a 2-point understanding. My right vanishing point is right here. And my left vanishing point is off the page a little bit, but on the same eye level. We notice in the picture that I showed you that the fabric hangs from a point. So usually fabric will hang, if I put like a hook here, for instance, and I hung a towel from it, what would happen is it would hang in a triangle and sort of scoop like this down at the bottom, right? So this kind of S curve that we draw at the bottom of a piece of fabric or a curtain, I'll usually put like an S curve like that, because that's going to show how this hangs down like this and this hangs like that. And if I were to draw some cross contour across this towel, then I'd say this is scooping out like this, and this part is scooping in like this, right? So if there were a decoration along the bottom of this towel, then it might do something like this, right? As it went along the bottom of that curtain. When it comes to this table, if I'm drawing a tablecloth, let's draw a tablecloth halfway, and then let's draw it all the way to the floor. What you saw in the picture was all the way to the floor, but I'll do this first. So here at the corner, I'm going to get this curve right there. I'm going to see that it's going to drape right there. It's going to drape right here. And I'm going to draw, instead of straight down here, I'm going to draw a little triangle coming out. And then I'm going to imagine this point is going to meet that one. This point is going to be lower. So I'm going to draw this in like that. And this is going to come up to meet that. Now, if I want to draw that straight across, it's probably about how it would hang. If I wanted to put a little wrinkle in it, I can put a little bit of a curve along the bottom like that, but I'm still adhering to my right vanishing point when I draw that over there. This side, I want to adhere to the left vanishing point, but I want to say this is going to come out in a little bit of a triangle here. So I'm basically imagining a triangle here, here, and here at the 3 corners of the table, and a curve like this happening there, so that fabric comes, it may go down pointed here and come up like this. It could be that I have this kind of thing happening at a corner, and this coming out to a point down here. I really have to look at the fabric and see what it's doing as to whether it's hanging in a round end like this, or whether it's hanging in a pointed end more like this. If I bring that triangle down to the floor, I'm just going to say there's something like this happening here and here and here. Right? Now, again, once in a while, I might put a little bit of a wrinkle or something, and then where that wrinkle happens, I might draw a line up just a little bit to show that the fabric is hanging along this edge of the table, okay? But the main points that are important are these corners. Put a little bit of a V shape up at the corner and then put a curve down at the bottom so that you get this kind of a thing happening on your table with your fabric, okay? When I draw a curtain, I'll put a rod up above the windowsill or maybe in front of the windowsill, right? So if I put a finial here, and then I go to the other end and I put a finial here, I'm going to make this one a little bit smaller than that one because it's further away from me and I want it to look like it's vanishing, right? Or it's farther away in perspective. So I made this finial a little shorter. I'm going to get a curtain rod going across here. Of course, I could draw the finial up above this and cover the entire window. Let's imagine at one end that I have curtain hooks going over this way, and that my curtain loops into that. I'm going to put a little S curve at the top of this. This one, let's imagine that I have grommets going in and the curtain comes up here. I'm going to put an S curve up here, like a little wave at the top. Then I'm going to come straight down to the bottom and fabric pretty much hangs straight. Now here I told you it was a triangle, so if you want to come out a little bit of a triangle, so these are not quite straight, that's okay. But one thing that happens with amateurs is they'll do the curtain, they'll do the S curve at the top, and then they'll do a curve like this down the side, right? So that your curtain or your fabric starts looking all wrinkly and jumbled like this, when really what happens, if it's hanging from this point, it's going to hang straight down here, and then it's going to be another wave at the bottom. So this wave down here is rising a little bit as it goes off to vanishing point right. This wave down here wants to follow that vanishing line too, and this wave up here, and this wave up here. So this one I'm putting above the rod, imagining that this curtain, I've taken it a little bit off the straight up and down, so I'm getting a little bit of a V shape, so I might come in here and do some V shapes in this curtain. And then up here, I'm just gonna stroke wherever there's an S shape, kind of going up towards the top of that curtain. These don't need to go all the way up. It's actually better if they don't, and you kind of just do random a little bit here and there. These maybe I want to bring out a little bit at an angle just to make it look like it's bunched at the top and widening out a little bit at the bottom like we did with this V shape here. Okay. I actually have made a tutorial on Windows. I don't know if I've connected it further on in one of the assignments, but I'll put that up for you this week. So here's an example of hooks. I want the top and bottoms of those hooks to all kind of line up so it looks like they're all hanging on a rod. This one I put an S shape, S curve at the top, and an S curve or a wave at the bottom. If I wanted to be specific about it, I'd take each time there's one of these waves and I'd put a little line down like this. That's going to help me when it comes time to shade that. Okay. Here I have a 30 and a 50. So when I go to shade this fabric, I'm just going to put some strokes down the side of it and up into it. Sort of like that. I can put some strokes down underneath it too, so that people see that sort of jump out and create a fabric kind of there. But I don't need to do too much to it to make it look like it's undulating or waving like that, right? Now this here, if I wanted to make this look like the light was coming in from this direction, then I'd make all this end shadow, right? So my 30% is going to start right here at the edge of this table. And I know that this is all going to be in shadow, right? This is marker paper, so my markers aren't working very well, but I'm going to shade the ends of this entirely, but here I've got a cone, right? We all know that when I have a cone and the light's coming from this direction, that it turns from light to shadow at a line halfway through the cone, and then this part here is shaded, and there's a shadow core actually right here, and then this casts a shadow onto the floor that would go off towards that vanishing point. This point would be a point out here, so this is going to actually shade like this on the floor, isn't it? So I'm going to treat this triangle right here like a cone, and I'm going to take this center line that comes right down the middle of it. That's going to be my line between light and shadow. And I'm going to shade right up to that line. Now I might treat this cone the same way. I might put a little bit of shadow right in here, right? To make this turn away from the light as well. So now I've got light hitting there. I've got this moving into shadow. It might cast a little bit of shadow down on here. It may be that I want to come in here where I've got a fold or two and just put a little bit of shadow up into it like that. If I want to put shadow core, I'm going to go right along the edges and blend that in. So you really see it turning away from the light there. And then this is going to be reflected light. My cast shadow is going to be a little bit darker on the table. This one wants to go 50% up here and then blend down into that. Again, this isn't marker paper, so I don't know how smooth an edge I'm going to get in here, but let's try. I'm leaving this a little bit lighter right along here. I want my 50% to go here, so I get reflected light right in here, right? Because if this shows a little bit of reflected light in there, notice I'm using cross contour to stroke across my shadow here. It's going to give me a nice rendition of this turning away from the light. Okay. I may want to actually go 30% here and let this be like a 10%, or maybe I want to take my 10%. Let's try that. If I take 10% on this side right here, and just ever so slightly saying the light's hitting stronger up here than it is here. And it's hitting stronger here. So these are paper white. This is 10% and 30%. This is 30 and 50 because this is all in shadow, right? I also know this is going to cast a shadow on the floor. So I'm probably going to take my 50%, come right along this edge right here, and stroke that out into the room this way. I'll turn my paper so I can get a little bit better. I'm going to connect the floor on the shadow to the shadow core right there. The floor on the shadow on the floor, to my shadow core. So I'm getting something going out into the room like that. Maybe take my 30 and try and blend it a little bit as it fades out in that direction.